Effective communications is the blood of maneuver warfare, and the German Panzer divisions made extensive use of the radio. The division's signal battalion was responsible for making sure that the communication with all the subordinate and superior units are intact with every means necessary. The Panzer Division Signal Battalion consisted of 4 sub-elements: the Battalion HQ, the Radio Company, the Telephone Company, both motorized, and finally the Supply Column. The Radio Company of the battalion was basically the wireless communications unit. It had either all or at least 2 of its 3 platoons attached to the Panzer Regiment, the 2 Panzer Grenadier Regiments, and the divisional staff. It featured a wide array of armored command and communications vehicles, such as the Sonderkraftfahrzeug, so Special Purpose Vehicle 251/3 and 251/6 half-tracks. Both of them were different versions of the famous Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251 APC. Until January of 1945, 9 different versions of the 251/3 were introduced, which had different radio equipments inside. At the beginning of the war, the vehicle had a large bed frame antenna set. Later, a less conspicuous star antenna was used. In engagement situations, vehicles equipped with the star antenna were hardly differentiable from a normal armored vehicle. The 251/6 command version was equipped with a map board, chipper and encoding machines, such as the famous Enigma set. Since these were not always available, normal lorries such as the Kraftfahrzeug 15 were used as replacements. The company was reorganized in June of 1942, which increased its platoons to 4. This 4th platoon was under the command of the Fliegerverbindungsoffizier, or FLIVO for short. Although this word translates as Air Force Liaison Officer, it actually means Forward Air Controller. The platoon had 3 to 10 Luftwaffe personnel who operated with the forward Panzer spearheads during offensive operations to coordinate direct air support at the front. These FLIVO teams existed right from the beginning of the war and played a vital role in the successful application of combined arms warfare on all fronts. But they had a dedicated unit only from June of 1942. After the reorganization, the company had a total availability of 23 251/3 half-tracks. The telephone company had a similar organization, but it was a lot lighter. Instead of armored cars, telephone units were mounted in cross-country cars and load carriers. The unit, mainly entrusted with laying telephone cable and providing exchange, and, as such, it was primarily active when the division was not on the move. And finally, the supply column was the element responsible for keeping and transporting the majority of the gear for the signal battalion. It consisted of trucks or cross-country load carriers carrying radio, phone and cable supplies, fuel, switchboard equipment, a battery recharging van and a signal workshop. By mid-1942, the authorized table of organization of a Panzer Signal Battalion was 470 people. It consisted of not only radio operators, but telephone operators, administrative staff, drivers, and operators for all the vehicles in it. Maintenance personnel for not only all the sophisticated electronic equipment, but also the vehicle themselves. Cooks, clerks, messengers, and others. For the workload it had to tackle running the communications of an entire panzer division, it certainly was not overstaffed. It might take one man to operate a radio or telephone, but there were a lot of phones and radios, and there were a lot of vehicles for those to be driven around, and a lot of cable that had to be laid and positions to set up. A lot of men to cook for, a lot of vehicles that had to be repaired and maintained, fueled, a lot of signal analysts and typists and coding operators, and all manner of other specialists. And a lot of administrative work to take care of, nearly for 500 men.